Numbers don't lie. As y'all know, the Redskins unfortunately finished the season 7-9 after losing the season finale to the Eagles, shut out 24-0. Super tragic. And I'm here to present to y'all how the Redskins compared to the rest of the league throughout the season. I want to use stats and rankings to show where we need to improve. This should be used as a guide for our off-season changes. Free agents, trades, draft picks, player development. Time to get down to the bottom of this. Let's get it. I want to organize this via the different phases of the game. First with offense and breaking it down to passing game and running game. Then defense and the same separate run stopping and pass defense. And then special teams, of course. I want to give y'all these stats and rankings so we can know where our team needs to prioritize improvements on a macro and micro level. Cap space and draft capital give us a limited amount of resources to improve this team. So we have to identify our biggest weaknesses and strengths and have a game plan moving forward. First up, offense. Passing game wise, the Redskins finished towards the bottom of the league. Losing your starting franchise quarterback to the injured reserve in week 11 would normally send an offense's passing game down the drain. But it wasn't very dynamic even when Alex Smith was 6-3. It was pretty efficient, ranking third in average time of possession with 31 minutes 27 seconds per game, and fourth in interception rate with 1.09% during this 6-3 run. Didn't turn the ball over and controlled the ball longer than our opponents. Winning formula, but again, not exciting or dynamic. Not something opposing defenses feared, but after Alex Smith got hurt, Colt McCoy threw some passes, Mark Sanchez threw some interceptions, and Josh Johnson threw some hope. We finished the season 28th in passing yards per game with 188.8 yards per game. To put it in perspective, Kansas City, a winning team with a dynamic offense, finished third in the league in passing yards per game with 309.7 yards per game. That's a 120.9 yards per game difference from us. That's ridiculous. To stress how important the passing game is, every team in the divisional round of the 2018 playoffs was ranked in the top 12 in passing, except for the Dallas Cowboys, who had a great run game and a top 5 defense. The Redskins were ranked 28th. Just to remind y'all, if we hope to make the playoffs and actually win games, the passing game has to improve. And I mean improve vastly. From the 28th in the league to at least the 12th, unless our defense becomes as good as the Cowboys or the Bears of 2018, who was able to bail their offenses out when necessary. Now to dive a little deeper, the Redskins ranked 26th in the league in passing attempts in the season with 509, which means we were towards the bottom of the league and even attempting to throw the ball. And with how little we threw the ball, you would think that we would at least be one of the most efficient teams, but nope. We were 27th in the league in passing completion percentage with 61.1%. So we didn't throw the ball a lot or for a lot of yards, and we also didn't throw it efficiently. But I do want to again point out that Mark Sanchez, Colt McCoy, and Josh Johnson are included in these stats and rankings. And another angle on our low efficiency is that we were 28th in the league in passing yards per completion with 6.5. The Chiefs led the league with 8.8 yards per completion. That's a steep drop to us. But on a positive note, at least we were 8th in the league in longest lone passing play with a 79-yarder. It's crazy to even think that the Bengals, who were dead last, longest play of the entire season, only went for 49 yards. That's crazy. But that's digressing. So we didn't throw the ball deep often at all, but at least we had some proof that we could get it done. Jay Gruden needs to watch that play once a day and figure out how to recreate that more than once in a season. Now back to the gloom. The Redskins were 28th in passing plays of 20 yards or more with only 40, and 24th in the league in passing plays of 40 yards or more with 6. The Packers had 16, and Aaron Rodgers was hurt a lot of the season. That's crazy. We can't expect to compete if our passing game continues to be so stale. To take some blame off of Jay Gruden and the Redskins, though, our offense was able to be creative and make some splash plays when relatively healthy, and the offense only got worse once the injuries mounted beyond repair and we started bringing in guys off the couch to block, run the ball, and throw the ball. But at the end of the day, injuries happen, and even though they happen to us worse than any other team in the league, injuries do happen to everybody, and there's no asterisk on the Patriots Super Bowl victory that says, "But the Redskins were very hurt." At the end of the day, injuries are not remembered, only stats and wins. So I'm going to continue this video under the realistic macro lens that teams will be evaluated with. But I do calculate injuries when analyzing the Redskins' past and future and weaknesses and strengths. Our passing game was bad, but there were also injuries included. But at the end of the day, the passing game was just bad. Now back to the passing game. One positive that we have to be proud of is that the Redskins led the league in offensive lineman combinations in the season. Injuries all over the place, and not to just some guys. There were injuries to stout starters, Pro Bowlers, and even after that, somehow the Redskins were 21st in sacks allowed with 44, even though they were dead last in offensive line health. That has to count towards something. We still need a starting left guard, may draft one, may get one in free agency, but other than left guard, if we can just stay healthy somehow throughout an entire season, we could have a dominant offensive line to protect who will be throwing the ball for the Redskins in 2019. Now back to the tragedy. The Redskins were 28th in the league in passing touchdowns with 16. The Chiefs led the league with 50. That's just too steep of a difference. We have to improve in this area if we hope to compete against the best of the best. We were also tied for 27th in the league in passing first downs with 156, while the Eagles were 7th with 221. That is a ridiculous gap. Now, before I go on to how the Redskins' run game looked and compared to the rest of the league, I want to look at game-winning drives. Drew Brees led the league with 7. Divisional rival Dak Prescott was 2nd with 5. Rookie Baker Mayfield 4th with 4. Josh Johnson only started and finished 3 games and was able to get 1 in. Alex Smith, who started and finished 9 games, had no game-winning drives. Granted, during that 6-3 run in those 9 games, whoever scored first won the game, so at least no team ever had a comeback drive against us. But also, Alex Smith was never able to lead a game-winning drive. He wasn't even able to lead a lead-changing drive. Good game manager has a lead, keeps it, is down, can't lead to a lead-changing drive, let alone a game-winning drive. At least so far since he's been in Redskins uniform. But the quarterbacks are not the only people who need to be looked at. The receivers didn't help the quarterbacks at all. Tight end Jordan Reed led the team in receptions and receiving yards, even though he missed 3 games and only technically started 8 games. But Jordan Reed leading the team in receiving yards with a miserable 558 is just terrible. To put it in perspective, Jordan Reed's 558 receiving yards was ranked 79th in the league. Our most productive, and I'm air quoting productive, receiver had the 79th most receiving yards in the league. Our most productive wide receiver was Josh Johnson, who had 532 yards in the season, which ranked 84th in the league. So our top receiving targets were ranked 79th and 84th in the league. That is so bad. There's only 32 teams. There were 16 eligible receivers who had more receiving yards than Doxson and Reed combined. There's no way the Redskins can win games like that in this pass-happy league. The lack of production out of our receiving options last year is inexcusable. There's a talent issue, especially with Jamison Crowder now going to the Jets, so we have to depend on Trey Quinn to step up and take his spot and play his role. But there's also a play calling scheming issue. We need both the talent and the play calling and scheming to improve. But all of this won't matter if the quarterback can't get the ball to the receivers. But now let's go to this run game. Run game wise, the Redskins were great in that 6-3 run. Fell off once Alex Smith got hurt and gained some of the power back when Josh Johnson led the team. In those first 9 games, with a generally healthy O-line, Adrian Peterson was 5th in the league in rushing yards with 672. He was 7th in the NFL in rushing yards per game with 74.7. He was also 7th in the NFL in rushing first downs with 31. And 6th in the NFL in rushing plays of over 10 yards with 21. The Redskins' running game was doing well until the team started to drop like flies. Offensive linemen, quarterbacks, wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs, including Adrian Peterson himself, begun to get hurt. But once Josh Johnson took over and had defenses on their heels with his ability to throw and run, the Redskins' run game was able to do a little something again. And in Josh Johnson's second game starting, Adrian Peterson had 119 yards rushing, which was his 3rd best game of the season. He had his 2 very best games in the Alex Smith 6-3 run, when the majority of the team was still healthy. But looking at the season on a macro level, the Redskins finished 17th in rushing yards with 1,774, average of 110.9 yards per game. The Redskins were 17th in rushing yards per attempt too, with 4.3. And on a positive note, the Redskins are 4th in the league in longest lone running play with a 90-yarder by Adrian Peterson while Mark Sanchez was playing. But as far as number of runs of 20 yards or more, the Redskins were 29th with 7. Our division rival, the New York Giants, ranked 3rd with 17, which again shows that our offense was stale and slow with just one big splash play in both the running game and the passing game. But overall, the Redskins offense didn't have a lot of splash plays. We just chipped away and pounded with the running game to finish 2018 with the middle of the pack running totals. Not a bunch of big running plays. That may change when we add the young legs of Darius Geis and a healthy Chris Thompson into the mix. Also, a dynamic passing game would take defenders out of the box and open up a lot of space for our running backs to make some plays. Also, the Redskins were in the middle of the pack again and ranked 16th in the league in first downs gained from running plays with 96. The Redskins were also tied for 20th in total rushing touchdowns on the season with 12. In comparison, the Saints led the league with 26. But on a positive note, 32-year-old Adrian Peterson was 8th in the league in rushing yards with 1,042. And he even missed a couple of games. He was also 4th in longest run in the 2018 season with the 90-yarder I mentioned earlier. Another positive note in the running game was that the Redskins running game made some improvements in 2018 from 2017. Jay Gruden promised we would run the ball more, not necessarily better, but more. He promised not to give up on the run game early like he used to, and he delivered. The Redskins ranked 14th in 2017 in rushing attempts with 414. The Redskins finished the 2018 season ranked 14th in rushing attempts with 414, while they were ranked 24th in the 2017 season. And as an extra, the Redskins ranked 11th places higher in rushing yards on the season. Now next season, the Redskins don't need to necessarily run the ball more. We need to run the ball more efficiently. We need to increase our rushing yards per attempt like we did from 2017's 3.6 to 2018's 4.3. We need to continue that trend of growth with that stat. Now to look at the overall offense. Points wise, let's look at how the Redskins scoring compared to the rest of the league. The Redskins scored 17.6 points per game, which ranked 29th in the league. The 4 teams in the conference championships happen to be the top 4 teams in points per game during the regular season. Of the 4, the New England Patriots had the least with 27.3 points per game during the regular season. That's almost a 10 points per game jump from us. To make it even more clear, the Chiefs scored 565 points in the regular season. The Rams scored 527, the Saints scored 504, the Patriots scored 436, and the Redskins scored 281. Wow. Now to look at the red zone scoring specifically. The Redskins ranked 28th in red zone scoring attempts per game with 2.5, which means we failed to move the ball deep into opponents' territories often. And then when we got there, the Redskins failed to execute. The Redskins had a poor red zone offense. The Redskins finished 25th in the league in red zone touchdown scoring percentage with 52.5. That is not good at all. That is even worse than the Redskins' 16th ranked red zone touchdown scoring offense from the previous year with a 54.35 percentage. Our red zone scoring was already between average and bad in 2017, and then it just went bad in 2018. So in conclusion, the Redskins struggled with getting to the red zone, and when they were finally able to get there, they struggled with getting touchdowns. Too many field goals. It's hard to win games just by kicking field goals. The Redskins need to start scoring touchdowns at a much higher rate in order to be successful. And now I want to look at the money downs. Third down wise, the Redskins ranked 24th in the league in third down conversion percentage with 36.4. And oddly enough, the Redskins ranked 12th in the league in third down plays ran, and I take that as we were not good at gaining first downs on first and second down plays. We ended up in third down situations more than 19 other teams last year. And the only teams with more third down conversion attempts in 2018 that made the playoffs were the Colts, Cowboys, and Seahawks. And none of those teams made it to the conference championship round. And then fourth down wise, it's hard to dive deep into this because even if you convert them at a high rate, the fact that you need 4 plays to get 10 yards is a problem in itself to me. But anyway, the Redskins ranked 17th in the league in fourth down conversion percentage with 55.6. A little more successful than a 50-50 chance, 10 out of 18, but 18 attempts sounds like a lot. I hate that we needed 4 plays to get a first down or touchdown so many times last season, but I also appreciate the fact that Jay Gruden went for it and didn't punt. But some of those were back to the wall fourth downs, and we had to go for it on fourth down. There was no choice. As far as penalties, the Redskins lost a lot of the discipline they had from 2017. In 2017, they had the 6th lowest amount of penalties with 5.8 per game. In 2018, the Redskins had the 8th most penalties per game with 7.2. That's almost 2 more penalties per game. Even though it's hard to judge the team by looking at the stats, because a lot of the penalties were either Ty Nsekhe getting hated on by the ref, phantom calls, and then there were a lot of penalties from backups and players brought in off the street. Gruden and the Redskins don't deserve too much criticism. The Redskins were 25th in the league in penalties, but last in the league in health, which leads me to the offensive injuries. Offensively, the Redskins had 20 players on the injured reserve list by the end of 2018. That's not including all of the people that missed games but weren't placed on IR. So that is ridiculous. That is IR and offense only. The Redskins spent a lot of money on a new training and health facility so that we could avoid repeating the 2017 season injury epidemic. And it didn't work at all. But this right here is a good reason why the Redskins performed so poorly in many aspects of the game. Now, before the injuries, the Redskins didn't have a dynamic offense, but it was good enough to take a lead and pound the ball to maintain the lead until the end. But playing from behind and depending on the passing game was never a thing in the season, even while the Redskins were first in the NFC East with a 6-3 record. But still, the injuries sent everything a tumbling down. And turnover-wise, the Redskins ranked 11th in giveaways in a 5-team tie with 19 in the season. Top half of the league, so not bad, but something to definitely improve on in 2019. 15 of those turnovers were interceptions, which means 4 were fumbled, which is tied for the best in the league. So at least we have one strong point, and the Redskins were ranked 8th in turnover differential, which leads me to the defense. Takeaway-wise, the Redskins defense improved from 2017 when we were ranked 12th in takeaways with 23. In 2018, the Redskins improved to being ranked 10th in total takeaways with 26. Not a big jump, but a slight improvement. Hopefully they can keep the trend going and slightly improve in 2019. Those extra possessions matter so much. And what was so impressive about a lot of the 2018 takeaways was how quite a few were while the Redskins had their backs to the wall, their own end zone breathing right on their necks. Which leads me to how the Redskins defense performed in the red zone specifically. The Redskins defense only allowed their opponents to score touchdowns on 51.92% of their trips to the red zone, which is good for the 8th best in the league in 2018. No coincidence that the 7 teams ranked higher than the Redskins all had great defenses last year. But the Redskins were a little different. The definition of bend but don't break. The Redskins were 8th in red zone defense, which is only a slight improvement from 2017's red zone defense, which was ranked 12th. But at the same time, the Redskins were ranked 17th in yards allowed per game with 353.4. The Redskins were 17th in yards allowed per game, but 8th in red zone defense. And we ran the ball a lot and chewed the clock more than most teams, so the Redskins defense had less opportunities to allow more yards. Definitely a bend but don't break defense. The Buccaneers game is a perfect example. Doesn't get any more bend but don't break than that game. Now for more specific stats. The Redskins' run defense was dominant in that 6-3 run, but fell off the rest of the season. In 2017, the Redskins' rush defense was ranked last in the league. But this past year, when fully healthy, the Redskins' defense stuffed the best of the best. Even after playing against David Johnson, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Ezekiel Elliott, and Christian McCaffrey, halfway through the season, the Redskins' rush defense ranked 3rd with 87.33 yards allowed per game on the ground. But after all kinds of randomness taking place throughout the season, the Redskins finished with a 17th ranked rush defense, allowing 116.3 rushing yards per game. Pass defense-wise, the Redskins struggled most of 2018. They finished 15th, allowing 237.1 passing yards per game. They ranked higher in pass defense than rush defense, but I'm still more concerned about our pass defense, especially our pass defense on 3rd down. It seemed like no matter how long 3rd and long was for our opponents, they can find a way to convert, whether it be a blown coverage, couple of missed tackles, or something stupid like a roughing the passer or unnecessary roughness. And even when you look at our defense's third down statistics, you can tell we struggled. The Redskins ranked 29th in opponent third down conversion percentage, allowing 43.33% to be converted. That's almost half of third downs. They also ranked 26th in opponent third down conversions per game with 5.4. And again, a lot of those third downs were third and long. That's the crazy thing about it. But that's one of the facets of the game that newly signed Landon Collins excels in. Third down defense, which is great for us. Because, woo, we need that. Woo, we need help on that one, I tell you. And lastly, the Redskins ranked 7th in sacks with 46 on the season. We ranked 13th in the league in yards lost on sacks with 297. That stat doesn't really implicate much, but it's nice to know. But knowing that the Redskins had the 7th most sacks last year without a dominant presence on the other side of Ryan Kerrigan really means something. And no real forces coming in the rotation either on the edge. That just shows how great our young defensive line already is and will grow to be when they get even better. Jonathan Allen had 8 sacks, and Matt Ioannidis had 7.5 sacks and far less snaps than Jonathan Allen. But these aren't just pass rush specialist defensive linemen. They are great against the run too. All of them can do both, stuff run lanes and penetrate into the backfield. Getting Ryan Kerrigan some help on the other side could give us a dominant pass rush. Let's do that before Ryan Kerrigan starts to decline. Now, special teams. The Redskins ranked 30th in kickoff return yards per game with 19.7. The Redskins also ranked 25th in average punt return yards per game with 6.5. The Redskins ranked 8th in fair catches with 23. So, lackluster special teams with no ability to make big plays, but at least we didn't muff a lot and change games for the bad. If the special teams returning game's purpose was to prevent mistakes and play cautiously, then they succeeded mightily. They just didn't really ever help in changing field position, which would have been lovely. But special teams coverage-wise, the Redskins didn't perform very well. The Redskins ranked 15th in average yards allowed per kickoffs with 22.7. And on punts, they ranked 24th in the league in average yards allowed per punt with 9.8. But it's crazy how our punt coverage stats aren't better because punter Tress Way had one of the best punt seasons in NFL history. Tress Way had 0 touchbacks on the season. That is only the second time since 1991 that a punter that has punted at least 10 times has done that. The last time he had a touchback was Week 15, 2017. He also led the league in punts down inside the 20 with 39. And yet, with all of that, he didn't even make the Pro Bowl. Like, how? But it also amazes me that our punter had an historic year, and yet our special teams coverage was still only slightly average, averaging a 9th best punt return yards allowed on the season with 303. Now, let's look back at our weakest points and discuss where we need the most help, whether it be through free agency, draft, trade, or some good old-fashioned player development. Offensively, the run game could stand to improve, but it's not bad. Plus, with a healthy O-line, with the left guard position filled with some talent, we will be good in the run game, especially with Darius Geis finally getting a chance to debut. We had injuries to all of our top 3 running backs on the depth chart, with one of them missing the entire season in Darius Geis, another one missing half the season in Chris Thompson, and like I said earlier, Adrian Peterson even missed a couple of games, and he still managed to get 1,000 yards. So I'm not too worried about the run game. And on a random note, I liked how effective we were at getting rushing touchdowns and converting 3rd and shorts and 4th and shorts when we brought in outside linebacker Ryan Anderson as a fullback. I'm pretty sure we will continue to do this next season. We need a huge passing game boost. We were not dynamic at all last year except for the game against Green Bay, and even that was a little mild. We are going into 2019 with Colt McCoy, Case Keenum, and a mystery third quarterback that we will either trade for or draft. So there's not much speculation there. But the receiving core, we have to find the next receiver. Preferably somebody with some size. If we can get some form of competent passing game going and to start to put up points and be able to change leads, we might have a little something cooking. Red zone wise, the offense can improve with a big receiver that can box out defensive backs, what Josh Doxson was supposed to do. Also, a dynamic back like Darius Geis that can pound and push forward for a couple of more yards will be a great asset. And a playmaking quarterback that can get creative and stay calm, collected, and be accurate when things go off schedule will lead to more red zone success. Now, I don't know if we have that with Case Keenum and Colt McCoy. Might have to see how that third quarterback who's going to be drafted or brought in through free agency will do. But improved play calling would also help a lot. Defensively, our rush defense was great up until a certain point, but our pass defense was never what it needed to be except for in stints like possessions and quarters, but never for entire games. And some of it is scheme, but we also need the legs, the talent, and the speed. Our safety situation is confusing. Landon Collins improves our defense so much, but he is primarily thought of as a run-stop monster, which he is, but his pass coverage is actually underrated. He can help in that way too. Letting Landon Collins fill the DJ Swearinger role is an instant upgrade, which is hard to do because DJ is good, but just not as much of a unique talent as Landon Collins. Pairing him with Monte Nicholson's free safety abilities and maybe HaHa Clinton Dix on a cheap deal after he disappointed so much last year could definitely work for us. And cornerback wise, we are thin. Dunbar may have a lingering injury. I prefer Fabian Moreau at outside corner, but he has some growing to do. Josh Norman is up there in age, so our secondary as of today is a little worrisome. We don't have a true slot corner. Our linebacker core has potential, even if Zach Brown or Mason Foster get traded or released for cap space. Just so as long Reuben Foster can play, pairing him with Sean Deion Hamilton can prove to be very beneficial for our defense. And then the Redskins defensive line is extra good. We straight on that. Tim Settle is only going to get better and he's coming off the bench. So the main worries are in the secondary. And if we can draft an athletic edge rusher with some bend, we can improve further from our 7th ranked sack defense last year. Now I just gave y'all the stats and facts, the rankings, and I told y'all how I feel. But how do y'all feel about the situation? What are the Redskins' biggest weaknesses? How do you want the Redskins to handle these biggest weaknesses? Draft? Further free agency moves? Some good old-fashioned player development? But that's it for this off-season episode of Redskins Report. Thanks for the view. Gonna keep bringing y'all occasional updates on the Redskins throughout the entire off-season from December to August. This will include roster moves, draft prospects, scouting reports. I got y'all back. Just make sure y'all get in them comments and let me know how y'all feel about this topic. Also, make sure you Dolomite Fake punch that like button, favorite, subscribe. I'll subscribe back, and most importantly, comment and share. And again, thank y'all for the support. I'll catch y'all later. Please subscribe if you haven't. It means a lot to me. Oh, and I'm coming with a mock draft soon. I'm out.